Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Chef Vic Cuisine. Today we're making koshari. Now, on the tour through Egypt, I was able to experience this dish for the first time, and I had to take it back to the States. This is an amazing assembly of grains, spices, herbs, and pasta, and it's a beautiful vegetarian option that's awesome for meal prep as well. So, let's get started. Alright, so for the ingredients, we're going to break it up into the sections. So starting with the carbs, we're going to need 2.5 cups of short grain rice, 8 ounces of dry elbow pasta, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and some salt and pepper to taste. Now for the lentils, we're going to need, of course, 1 cup of dry brown lentils, some water to cover the lentils, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, half of a sweet onion finely chopped. Then we're going to need 8 ounces of oven roasted tomato sauce, then half a teaspoon of cumin, and some salt and black pepper to taste. And now for the vermicelli, we're going to need about 10 ounces worth of vermicelli, and then 2 tablespoons worth of olive oil, 1 cup of water, and some salt to taste. And then for the chickpea portion of this recipe, all we need is about 1 cup of dry chickpeas and some water to cover them with. And now for the tomato sauce, we need 1 teaspoon of garlic, which would be about 1 clove minced. Then we need 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, about 4 ounces of tomato sauce, 2 tablespoons of water, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And now for the cumin sauce, we're going to need 1 teaspoon of garlic, or 1 clove minced, 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of water, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, and some salt to taste. And finally, for the fried onions, we're going to need half of a sweet onion sliced and some vegetable oil for frying. Alright, so to get things started, we're going to work with the chickpeas, and all you need to do is soak the chickpeas overnight in cold water, making sure that all the chickpeas are covered with the water. And with a little TV magic, our chickpeas have soaked overnight, and as you can see, they've doubled, if not tripled in size. So any of the leftover water we don't need for the recipe, so you just want to drain all the chickpeas through a fine mesh sieve to get rid of the water. And while the chickpeas are still in the fine mesh sieve, you want to wash them all under cold running water. So now you want to place the clean chickpeas into a large pot and cover them with new cold water, and then add about a pinch or 2 of salt to the water, and you want to bring this water to a boil. And then once the water is boiling, we can reduce the heat to the stovetop to about medium low, or 300 degrees Fahrenheit or 148 degrees Celsius, and continue cooking the chickpeas for about 60 minutes until the chickpeas are nice and tender. And you always want to monitor this pot just to make sure there's still water in the pot as the chickpeas cook, otherwise they might burn. And so after the 60 minutes of cooking are up, we want to drain the chickpeas once again and then set them aside in a bowl to be plated later on in the recipe. Now, the beautiful thing about this recipe is that you can cook multiple things at the same time, so that within about an hour and 30 minutes time, you'll have this bountiful meal waiting for you. And it really does require little to no work, as most of the cooking process is boiling, so all you need to do is really monitor it. But anyways, the next section we're going to make is the pasta. And so basically all you want to do is cook the pasta according to the package directions using 1 tablespoon of salt in the water. And then after the pasta is cooked, you just want to drain it and set it aside as well in a large bowl. Next up we have the lentils, and now we want to put the lentils in a fine mesh sieve again and wash them thoroughly with running cold water. And now you just want to place the lentils into a pot covered with cold water and bring that pot to a boil. And once this pot is boiling, we want to reduce the heat to a simmer, or about 300 degrees Fahrenheit or 148 degrees Celsius, and allow the lentils to cook for about 28 minutes until they're al dente, making sure that the water level does not drop too low or these lentils will burn as well. So definitely make sure you keep an eye on all your pots as you cook. And now after the 28 minutes of cooking, the lentils should be nice and al dente or soft to the bite. And you just want to drain the water from the lentils using a fine mesh sieve. And now to prepare the rest of the ingredients for the lentil portion, you just want to take your half of a sweet onion and finely chop it up, making sure to remove the root and the stem from the onion as well as the outer peel. And then once you have the sweet onion nice and finely chopped, we're ready to move on to the next part of the recipe. So in the same pot we used to cook the lentils in, we want to add our 1 tablespoon of olive oil as well as our onions at the same 300 degrees Fahrenheit heat and saute the onions until they're fragrant. Oh, and while you're at it, go ahead and saute that like button, subscribe to the channel to see more recipes like this one, and stay tuned until the end of this video for a sneak peek of the recipe coming next week. So once all your onions are nice and sauteed and slightly translucent, we can go ahead and add the lentils back to the pot along with the oven roasted tomato sauce and the cumin. Give this mixture a nice mix until all the ingredients are well combined, and then you just want to season these ingredients with salt and pepper to your own personal taste. Allow this lentil mixture to cook for about 3 more minutes, and at that point they should be ready to serve. And so you just want to remove them from the pot and place them into a large bowl and set it aside for now. Next up, we're going to make the cumin sauce, and so to make that, we're going to make sure that we dice up our garlic into fine bits. I use a garlic press to make this process really easy, but if you don't have one handy, you can always just chop it up with a knife. So in a small or medium-sized saucepan, you want to saute the garlic and the cumin together until it's fragrant on medium heat, or 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius for about 30 seconds. And it should only take about 1 tablespoon of olive oil to do so. And so after about 30 seconds, the cumin and garlic flavors should have had enough time to infuse into the oil. And it's at this point where we want to add in our white vinegar, the water, as well as a dash or 2 of salt. You want to whisk all these ingredients together until they're well combined. And this creates our cumin sauce, and it's ready to serve, so you can remove it from the heat and place it in a small serving platter until we're ready to plate it at the end of this recipe. Next up, we have the vermicelli, and so what we need to use is a medium or large size pot, and we want to heat the stovetop on medium-high heat, or 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. You want to add in our olive oil and the vermicelli. And you want to cook the vermicelli in the oil for about 2 minutes, adding a little bit of water at a time and stirring the vermicelli until it's nice and tender. Adding the water a little bit at a time is pretty crucial, as it allows the vermicelli to open up and cook more evenly as more water is introduced into the pot. And for seasoning, we just want to season the vermicelli with a dash or 2 of salt. And then once the vermicelli is tender, we want to drain it and set it aside in a bowl as well. Next up, we have our short grain rice, and all you need to do is cook the rice according to its package directions. I like to add 1 teaspoon of salt to the water, and you can optionally add 1 tablespoon of butter as well. But once the rice is done cooking, what we want to do is add about 1 tablespoon of olive oil to the rice and stir it in. Next up, we're frying the onions, and so we want to take the other half of our sweet onion and create thin slices, cutting from root to stem on our half of an onion. And once you have your onion nice and sliced, you just want to make sure that you separate all the layers of the onion just so that each piece can stand by itself and allows it to cook more evenly in the frying oil. So in a large deep pot, we want to add oil to cover the bottom of the pan with about an inch of oil. And like I mentioned earlier in the ingredients section, we're using vegetable oil for this part. And now you just want to add the onion slices and cook them for about 15 to 20 minutes on medium-high heat, or 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. Stirring them intermittently throughout the process, making sure not to burn them. And always be mindful when working with frying oil. This stuff gets very hot and you just want to avoid any contact with water as much as possible. And once our cooking time is passed, you can take the onions out and allow them to drain onto a paper towel lined plate. And once they're removed from the frying oil, the onions will shrink, harden, and become crispy. And finally, we're going to create our tomato sauce. And so all you need to do is take your other clove of garlic and finely mince that up. I'm using the garlic press once again. And then once you have that ingredient ready, in a medium-sized pan, we want to saute the minced garlic in the olive oil for about 1 minute over medium heat, or 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius. And after that minute's up, we want to add in some white vinegar, the tomato sauce, the water, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Mix all these ingredients together until they're well combined, and at that point, the tomato sauce is ready to serve, and you can remove it from the heat and place it in a serving dish. Now it's at this stage where you've reached the final product, and you can serve all of these on a large serving platter or table, and you can let everyone take how much of each ingredient that they want. That's the great thing about koshari. You can dibble and dabble with the amounts of each ingredient that you put on your plate. So I'll just show you how I like to make my plate of koshari. I like to add equal portions of the chickpeas, the macaroni pasta, the lentils, the rice, as well as the vermicelli. And if I'm sharing this plate with someone, I like to drizzle on the tomato sauce to make what seems to be an X pattern in the center of the dish. And then with the cumin sauce, I like to drizzle that onto the lentil layer, but feel free to add that to the entire dish as well. And last but not least, garnish the middle of the plate with a handful of the fried onions. And just like that, you've just made koshari. This dish is loaded with so many flavors and textures. I hope that when you take your first bite, you get to experience some Egyptian cuisine yourself. And for a variation on plating, you can serve this in what's called a terabish, or dome, by packing the ingredients tightly in a bowl and then inverting the bowl onto a plate. And then you just want to top the dome with your onions and sauces. But as always, this recipe and many more can be found in my cookbook, Chef Vic Cuisine Volume 2, Elevating Your Inner Chef. And that's available on Amazon, and I'll be sure to leave a link to that in the description box. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel to see more videos like this, and hit the bell icon to be notified when my next video drops. And stay tuned for next week where I show you how to make these bacon wrapped scallops. So easy and so delicious. Well, thanks again for watching. Check out more recipes like this one on my page, and I'll see you next week on another episode of Chef Vic Cuisine. And until then, peace.